Hi, I'm Denise Killian with Trainertainment, and welcome to this week's Think Tank Thursday. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors for helping make Think Tank Thursday happen each and every week. We appreciate you and what you do. On Thursdays, Trainertainment likes to take a break from doing and take some time to think. So today, we're going to talk about hiring. It's the start of the year. It's something that often we do at the beginning of the year. So how do you hire and recruit in the most effective way? Well, we went to HR expert Barbara Flynn, also owner and founder of People First Inc., to find out. So let's find out the top 5 things you can start doing right now to make your hiring and recruiting more effective. Barb, thank you so much for being here for Think Tank Thursday.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
So this week we are talking about hiring. It's the beginning of the year and it's a good time to remind yourself of the best practices for hiring. So I wanted to speak to an expert. So Barb, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and People First.
People First has been around coming up 25 years. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary next year, And I have been in HR for over 40 years, and we specialize in helping small business owners with their human resource needs, helping them with employee issues, writing handbooks, job descriptions, all things HR related. We're happy to be there. We love people. We have a passion for people. And there you have it. People first, where everything begins and ends with people.
Well, congratulations on 25 years in business. That's quite extraordinary.
Thank you. We're excited.
And we're going to celebrate our 20th anniversary in 2025 as well. So look at us.
I feel like there's a party happening.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about jobs. And you mentioned job descriptions.
Yes.
And I asked you to come up with the top 5 things that people need to do when hiring. And the first one is job description. And I think people miss this one often. So talk about the essential things that are needed in the right job description.
Well, that is a problem because when you hire somebody, if you don't know what their job's going to be and they don't know what their job's going to be, it's sort of like haphazard. So a job description is a foundation, and it consists of 2 parts. The first part are the duties, the main duties. And then the second part are the specifications, how education, how much math do they need? How much writing skills do they have to have? Working conditions, are there going to be extreme heat or outside or extreme cold? And then the physical demands, are they going to have to lift a case of paper or whatever? So the specifications define what's required, and then the job description defines the duties. That helps employers not just with recruiting, but all aspects of employment. It keeps the employer defensible. You can prove then that this is the job the person was supposed to perform if they weren't performing it. And just it helps you determine how to pay somebody. The government decides whether someone's going to be exempt or non-exempt from overtime, and that's based on job duties. Without a job description, you have no defense to prove that you're properly paying someone. So job description truly is the foundation. Should not have anybody working for you if they're not working under a job description.
So it's important that job description is specific in terms of what kind of work that they're going to be doing, but also it needs to be specific in the duties seem pretty clear. Like, right, if you're going to be working the front desk, what those duties are, that seems to be somewhat clear. But the specifications are where you'll say you'll be standing a lot. Or if you're a mechanic, you'll be lifting or moving things, or right, those sorts of things. So you need both the duties and the specifications, which are kind of the requirements for the job.
Well, for example, an accountant needs to be degreed. An accountant needs to be able to do mathematical equations more than adding and subtracting.
Yeah,
so you're going to define you're going to define what is needed for the job. If you're writing training manuals, you need to be able to write well. So all of those things are taken into consideration, as well as if you're going to be if you're supervising people, that would be defined at that point. So yeah, that without the job description, an employee is not going to know what is expected of them, and you have nothing to hold them accountable to.
Excellent. All right. So making sure that your job description is well crafted includes not only the duties and responsibilities, but also the qualifications and specifications for the job.
Absolutely. Correct. Correct.
All right.
And
Perfect.
don't recruit without one.
So you've got your good job description. Then, I guess the second part is your tip number two is how do you recruit people? How do you let people know?
I always say the first step is to spread the word amongst the people you know in your networking groups, social media, um, going to when you go somewhere and you see that somebody's doing a great job, you can say, give them a business card and say, hey, I was really impressed with the way you did that. Do you know anybody who has the same work ethic as you? Please have them give me a call. I'm hiring. So even when you are out there and about and you see people performing well, you can give them your card. I used it for a client of mine where I recruited a bank teller to come be a bookkeeper. All by when I did the deposit from my client, I gave them my card and said, hey, we have an opening. If you know any tellers that may be looking for work. We recruited that person right away. She called me that night and said, I'm interested.
Excellent. So referrals are great. Talk to your people, talk to the people you know. I always like to encourage people to post on their social channels because generally, and post in your center, because if people
Exactly.
like to come to your center, they might
Then
be a good
they
fit
want
to
to come
work in
work
your
for you.
center as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you've got those channels, but then there's also 10 billion recruiting sites out there.
Exactly. Right.
How do you pick which one and how do you do
Well,
that?
you want to pick the big ones. You don't want to go with the little one because the big ones typically recruit on more than one platform. And I always feel I would rather hire somebody that was a referral that I know than blindly hiring. And when you're going on those sites, you're really blindly hiring. Doesn't mean you're not going to get good people, but it would be my second choice when I've exhausted all other possibilities. And then you need to be careful with, who you select and how you select them. So, and that would lead us to our next tip.
Isn't that funny? Woo! You also want to make sure that and your tip number three is the brand.
Right.
How do you incorporate your brand as a company into the hiring process?
Well, HR should have a brand as well within the organization. So, Southwest, you're familiar with Apple, you're familiar with Google. Google has a great brand for wanting to hire people and spreading the word of the kind of employer they are. So you want to get the word out, spread the word out, whether you're recruiting locally, nationally, you want to promote your employer brand as well as your company brand. And with that brand, you become a place where people want to come work if they fit that criteria and you know appreciate what you're doing. People want to work for Disney because they love Disney. People want to go work for Google because Google provides dry cleaning and childcare and a place to take a nap. So there's just I wouldn't know that if they weren't promoting their brand. We know those things because of what their HR folks are doing to promote. This is the kind of work environment we have, we offer to you. You want to come work for us. So it's important to have that brand, whether you're recruiting locally and you're a local FEC center or you're a major, nationwide international company. You want to have that brand out there.
Excellent. Excellent. So, all right, the good job description. You want to be recruiting in multiple channels, but starting with your referrals and the people that you know.
Yes,
You want to make sure that your employer brand is out there, which is, by the way, different than your company's brand.
exactly.
So you've got some candidates. And then we come to tip number four, which is the interview process. And
Right.
I think a lot of people mess this up. So, what should a good interview look like?
Well, there's that expression, without a plan, you don't go anywhere, right? So with your interviewing, you need a plan. What are we, who are we looking for? How are we going to recruit? What are we going to ask? What testing might we be using? Depending upon the kind of job, you're not going to ask the same question across the board for every position in your organization. You want to have a plan for that specific job to know these are the questions we're going to ask. You don't necessarily verbatim have to ask the same questions, but in the same family so that you're getting the same answers, similar answers, so that you can use that information to decide who you really want to hire. And those questions are critical. But on top of that, Entertainment has great programs for testing folks to see if they're the right fit for that company. Okay, they test, they see what their personalities are, what their traits are, and then is that individual going to fit into our culture? So it's important to do that testing as well. And skills testing if the job requires certain skills, an accounting person, a mechanic. You can certainly provide offer skills tests for them to check and see, for you to determine if they're qualified to do the actual skill part of the job.
Right. Absolutely. Which leads us to point 5, that's part of that interview process, which is making sure you're looking for that good cultural fit, right? You don't want to have a 5-minute interview because you're never going to know the answer to that, right?
Right.
But part of that interview is making sure that they're going to fit culturally.
To the organization.
Why is that important?
Well, it's important because it's going to be a bad apple. I always say they're a cancer in the organization. And what that really means is they're not fitting into the culture. So that's what the interview is all about. It's funny, in preparing for this, I I got an article yesterday. I got an email yesterday that said 99% of the interview is determining the culture because you can train the skills. So that's what you want to spend your time on. You want to focus on, is this person, based on how they're answering, based on their behavior in the interview, are they going to fit into our culture? Because if they don't fit into the culture, it's not going to work. You want to have a cohesive team. Yes, you want to have a little bit of a disagreement. I had a CEO one time say, without friction, you have no motion, but you also don't want so much friction that you don't move. So you have to have that happy medium, but you want to make sure that individual fits into the culture that you have, and you want to create that culture to start with. If it doesn't exist in the beginning, you're not going to succeed. So
Right.
that needs
And
to be a
we've all
priority.
been in situations where things are going well. There's a good groove with the team. Everybody's marching towards that same big goal, relatively uh, doing well with each other. Now, listen, we're humans and there's always going to be some kind of something,
Yeah,
but you don't have, you have a general positive thing happening. And
right.
one person that has a bad attitude or that doesn't really want to do the work and sloves their work off onto other people, or that just talks and is just that negative, 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 how just one person can really destroy
Right.
a culture.
The cohesiveness of the team. Look at sports. When the teams that win are the teams that go to dinner together. When they go out, when they're at an away game, they go to dinner together, they hang out together, they're friends, they work together. Those are the teams that win. The teams that have dissension in the locker room, they tend to not make the final game, whether it's the Stanley Cup or the Super Bowl or the World Series. They're not going to make it because the team is not working together and caring for each other and looking out for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that cultural fit is a big one. And you're not going to find that in a 5-minute interview.
No, no.
You're not going to find that in a 10-minute interview, right?
Yeah.
You really need to be thinking in your interview process about getting to know them, but also they need to get to know you.
Right, right.
Because if they don't want to be a part of this culture or this team, you don't want it.
Correct.
And that's a part of what the interview process is as well, right?
Right. Absolutely. That I'm more guilty of talking about the company than I am about finding out about that individual. When I'm doing an interview, I want to sell the company on them. I want to let them know all about the company and what we're all about. Many years ago, I was on an interview. I was interviewing for a position, and the company was hardcore, um, uh, really tough and just nasty kind of interview. And in the middle of the interview, I stood up and said, I don't think this is the place I want to work. And I walked out.
And it was the right decision
It
for
was
both
that's
you and the company, right?
exactly. Because I am not that kind of person. I don't like to put hardcore pressure on people. You accomplish a lot more when you calmly approach things and you get a lot more with honey than vinegar or whatever the expression is. But yeah,
Yes.
that was just not the kind of environment that I wanted to put myself in. That high stress um, doesn't need to be that way. Being in HR is stressful anyway. And so the last thing you want is to have that kind of feeling, that kind of environment. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, so that's making sure that that fits for both you and the employee is really, really essential. So
yeah,
these are great, great tips, and they're so. I mean, everybody knows. All right, you got to post a job, post on lots of places, and then you're going to do an interview. But if that's all the thought process you put into it, you're not going to be successful, right?
yeah. You need to have, as I said before, have a plan
Mhm.
from start to finish.
Yep.
I'm a big checklist person. Have that checklist for your interviewing, for your recruiting from
Yep.
start to finish. Do we have the job description? Has it been updated? Are we going to be making the right payments? How are we going to recruit? Are we going to go out? Are we going to post it internally first? See if anybody inside has any recommendations. Get it out there. Get all of our people posting that we have this opening. Maybe then go to the outside world and recruit that way. Then you want to make sure that when you're recruiting, that people know who you are and what you're all about. That's your brand. So you want to get to that point, and then your interview process, have the questions down, know exactly what you're going to do, and let the interviewee know what the process is going to be.
Yeah.
And then you want to make sure it's the right culture. They're going to fit into that culture that you've established.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, Barb, it's time. Are you ready?
Already.
All right. It is January.
Mhm.
So at this point, this is a terrible statistic. Only 18, at this point in January, only 18% of people who made a resolution are still following through. Isn't that just kind of a little sad?
That is sad, yeah.
Uh,
But
but
oh,
I like to encourage people to set goals instead of a resolution. So, Barb, how do you keep your goals throughout the year?
well, funny you should ask that. And this is not a pre-plug, but through Trainertainment system, I have been able to accomplish my goals. And while I've been in business 25 years and Trainertainment's only 20 years, because of what I've learned from Trainertainment, my business has succeeded way more than it would have had I not followed the system. And the system is having a meeting every week with my team, setting those goals, holding each other accountable. Every week we look at them. Every quarter we review them and we set the next quarter's steps to get to our annual goal. We do that quarterly, and annually we meet and we plan for the upcoming year. We have our plan for 2025, and starting January 2nd, we're going to have our first 2025 meeting to say, here's what we have to do. What have you done this week to help us get to our goals? That's the magic. That's the magic formula, and Trainertainment can certainly help with that.
Oh, well, I appreciate the plug. I'm certainly unsolicited, but that's it, right? You have to not just set your big year goal, but you've got to keep talking about it and working towards it little by little, chipping away at it. Because if you only think about it at the beginning of the year, you're going to get to the end of the year and you're going to say, well, what happened? Well, nobody knows because we haven't been talking about it or thinking about it or planning. and making decisions towards those goals for 12 months. So it's a little late, right? So you've got to be intentional and have those check-ins with yourself and with others, whether it's a individual goal or a company goal. Having that accountability partner is important too, right?
It is. It is.
So Barb, you have done a fabulous job of keeping your information up throughout this interview, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
You've got phone number, even your cell phone, your email, your website. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
A phone call or an email, and be happy to set up a Zoom meeting. I can send a calendar link. We can do whatever your needs are. You know, when people have a problem, they have a problem, they want an answer right away, and we respond. We guarantee we respond within 24 hours, usually the same day, unless it's 4:30 in the afternoon. But yeah, email or phone call, and typically we can respond right away and get you the answers you need, because if you're calling, you have a need, and we want to satisfy that.
All right, perfect. Well, Barb, thank you so much for your time. As always, it's so fabulous to learn from you and to get your thoughts and advice. So thank you for joining us for Think Tank Thursday.
Thank you, and Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year! Well, I don't know about you, but I think it's time for me to reevaluate some of the questions that I ask in interviews and how I streamline that process for each and every candidate, so that at the end, there's a fair basis in which to determine who's that best candidate and who's going to be the best fit culturally. So thanks to Barbara. I always learn so much when I get to talk to Barbara. So I hope you've enjoyed that as well. I also want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Without them, we couldn't bring you Think Tank Thursday each week. So we appreciate them and all that they do to allow us to do what we do for you. If you have an idea for Think Tank Thursday, I'd love to hear from you. Just send me an email at denise@trainertainment.net. Love to hear your thoughts, and if you'd like to be a guest on Think Tank Thursday. Thanks for tuning in for today's Think Tank Thursday. Remember, your journey for success is all about growth. And here at Trainertainment, we're here to help you grow your business, your people, and yourself. If you're ready to grow and thrive, just reach out to Trainertainment on the number on the screen or by visiting us at trainertainment.net and let us know how we can help you support your growth journey. Or you can also come and see us in person. Our full schedule of events is under the events menu right at trainertainment.net. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and keep striving for excellence.